okay, you want a list of everybody who has something. And let's get away from guns for a second.
Yeah.
You want a list of everybody who has something.
Coffee pots.
Coffee pots, certain kind of dog, certain kind of car, whatever. Why do you want that list of everybody who has one specific thing? This is sports talk radio for them. They want to talk about, can you believe this? Like, why would somebody want to have like a whole list of where everybody's got the guns on it?
Yeah.
They want to talk about guns and they want to agree. The answer that you need to have on hand at all times is not for that person and not for the staunchly anti-gun person.
You're never going to convince them anyway.
Now, they might ask because they want to fight, because that's their idea of a good time. They want to argue about baseball too.
Yeah.
The answer that you need to have ready is for the person that maybe literally 1 in a million person who really hasn't made up their mind yet. And they are curious. Like, I don't hate guns, but I don't have one, but I don't understand why you're so opposed to having just a list of all the guns. Like, why doesn't that make sense? That's the answer that you actually have to have on tap, because that's a person, again, it's 1 in a million. Mm-hmm. But if you can find one, that person probably also knows people who feel the same way. And the answer that I would give to why don't you want a list always starts with, why do you make lists of things?
So you don't forget.
What's the most popular kind of list made in this country?
It's a shopping list so you can go get things.
It's a to-do list.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
But I like shopping list too. I might rip that off. I think I'm going to take that
shopping
one.
list.
I've always gone with to-do list. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, you want a list of everybody who has something. And let's get away from guns for a second. Yeah. You want a list of everybody who has something.
Coffee pots.
Coffee pots, certain kind of dog, certain kind of car, whatever. Yeah. Why do you want that list of everybody who has one specific thing?
Well, just in case something bad happens, so we can, if there's
crazy.
If there's an outbreak of a specific virus that only attacks pit bulls.
Right.
Yeah. Then
I'll be honest. I've used the concept of a list of pit bulls before.
Yeah.
In some contexts, just to intentionally enrage the person who I knew was never going to agree with me. That was immature. Shouldn't have done that. That was 20 years ago. But yeah. Why do people make lists? They make lists to go do something about whatever's on the list. And save the Constitution speech, save all that. That's for the first person I talked about, who just loves talking about this and agrees with you. Or if you're into sport arguing like you're in the 11th grade, argue with some very anti-gun person about the Constitution. That's your business. It bores me.
Yes.
I'm not interested in talking to anti-gun people, and I'm not particularly interested. I don't even like arguing with people I know, let alone people I don't know, let alone on the internet. Be ready to answer that question for the person who's honestly curious, and tell them the reason that we are so opposed to what they call universal background checks, universal gun registry, whatever they call it, is it's none of their business, and we know what they use lists for.
Yeah, they use lists so that they can go around and pick things up. That's why the first thing that came to mind was a shopping list. Yep, and we've got a list of guns broken down by make, model, serial number. Which ones are they going to go for first? And then, that scoped deer hunting rifle, that is a military-grade sniper rifle capable of killing a human being at 800 yards. You shouldn't have that.
Yep.
We hear that crap all the time, and no anti-gunners ever agree with the slippery slope idea. It's always, as you said at the beginning, just a reasonable common sense measure.
The slippery slope is a fallacy in philosophy, and it's a reality in politics. Mm-hmm. Fortunately for us, unfortunately for world's greatest upstairs neighbor, we don't have to deal in, theoreticals here. We can point right at Canada.
Yes.
That's why. Exactly what's going on up there. Now, some really big voices, not even in the gun world, world's biggest podcaster, has even joked that, gun control's over. 2020, 2021, that's like gun control's over. That's a losing issue to run on, because even in places like very anti-gun Los Angeles, very anti-gun wherever, there were people, hey man, can I borrow a gun? Like, no.
No, hey, that gun's for me.
A, you voted for a bunch of laws here that make it illegal for me to just hand you a gun. Mm-hmm. And B, not to be that guy, but maybe you should have thought of this earlier.
Yeah.
And maybe you should have listened when I said, hey, man, you might want to learn how to use a gun and then buy one.
Yeah. And that's this conversation morphed into that 2020 in Los Angeles of the line out the gun store, around the block, and people getting into the store and ready to turn over their $2,000 for the wildly overpriced gun, and realizing that they had voted for people who required a 10-day waiting period. And they're like, wait, I don't want to wait 10 days. I need a gun now. Well, look what you have done.
Yep.
And
lap it up.
Yeah. And
lap it up.
This is the end result, that when you really need one, now you can't get one, or it's very, very difficult for you to get one. And yeah, what do you think is going to happen with that list? That list is going to be used. Now, before you go, if you think you're using the right caliber for self-defense, think again. And you might not even know it, but your ammo could be putting you at severe disadvantage when you pull the trigger. Click the link in the description below to watch this short, unbiased video comparing the top 4 self-defense calibers and see if you end up changing handguns.